Hey everybody. So in this video, we have a very, very special guest. His name is Matthew, and we're going to discuss a lot of various topics in regards to Disney. Matthew, first time on the channel. Thank you so much for coming on. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. I'm glad that you invited me on here. I mean, I've been wanting to do something like this for a while. Yeah, I'm excited for this. And if you guys want to find me, my channel is Matthew with an exclamation mark at the end, and my Twitter is at matt.disney, mattdotdisney.
Perfect, perfect. And check out his YouTube channel. He does amazing content. I love his channel. He
Thanks,
just
man.
started a few months ago, and he's done a lot of great stuff. So Matthew, let's dive right in.
All right.
Now, the whole thing with like this COVID-19, right?
Yeah.
It's sort of thrown like a wrench in all the gears, right? Everything is kind
Yeah.
of on the back burner and what have you. Now, a lot of people were talking about, leading up to COVID, of a new Tomorrowland coming to Disneyland.
Yeah.
And they kind of hinted at that with the Imagineering story on Disney Plus, with that big model that Joe Rody was
Yeah.
standing over.
Yeah.
And what are your thoughts on that? Like, how do you think that this whole shutdown, this whole COVID shutdown, is going to affect those Tomorrowland plans?
Well, I know that there's been like rumblings of like a new Tomorrowland kind of an upgrade going on, and you could kind of see that even at Disney World, where it's like they're like repainting everything and like they're adding Tron and all this new stuff. And I feel like Disneyland needs more of like the attention to their Tomorrowland too, because it's kind of dated. And the issue is with like COVID and everything, I feel like it definitely like kind of put a halt to it in a way. And as much as I really, really, really want a new Tomorrowland, I feel like it's kind of gonna go on the way as like how they're doing it at Disney World, where it's just like a simple like reskin, or kind of like how they painted like Space Mountain all bronze before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, completely, completely. And it's kind of like, it's almost kind of like an issue where like you mentioned, they kind of did like kind of like a half effort
yeah,
in 98, right? And nobody was really happy with that. And it makes me kind of feel like, okay, if Disney doesn't have the funds right now to go all out with Tomorrowland, then maybe it's best not to do it at all, right? Wait,
yeah.
wait until they have the money to do it.
Yeah, honestly, I'd prefer for them to like wait on it until they actually have everything that they need to do, have a plan set in stone. Because like I honestly wouldn't doubt that they're still going through a bunch of like developmental stuff. And if it's like if they were to do it right now, I feel like it would been kind of done like on the half and not
Right.
exactly like all there, and they're just doing it just to do it.
Exactly, Matthew. I mean, I completely agree with you. I mean, if you're not going to be able to do it, if you're not going to be able to invest 100% into it, then just don't do it. Because they've had this go at it, like 20 years ago or so in 98. It didn't really work out. So they really have to hit a home run this time.
Yeah, and if they were to redo it too, I personally I feel like they should just like completely like demolish it aside from like Space Mountain and just like completely build it from like the ground up.
Thank you. Thank you. That's exactly what they should do. Because, like, how many times are they going to have to, like, repaint
Exactly.
the 1960s era buildings, right?
Yeah, I mean, and they need to find like a theme that's kind of like timeless because like if you think about it, they've done themes where it's like, oh, it's kind of like just in that era, it's that era's perception of what the future is going to be. And maybe
Right.
they shouldn't like necessarily like think of what the future is going to be like, and they should kind of go for something like how they did in Discoveryland and like Disneyland Paris. And it doesn't necessarily need to be like that steampunk kind of a vibe, but just kind of focusing on something that's more like abstract and something that could stay like in the land longer.
That's interesting. Yeah, I think that's the smartest move they can make because like if you go the original idea for Tomorrowland was, like almost a kind of like a realistic portrayal of the future, but like you said, that's constantly changing and it becomes outdated very fast. So maybe the best approach is to do more of a fantasy version
Exactly.
of tomorrow. That's a great idea, Matthew. I mean, yeah, I think they should definitely do that because it would last longer,
Hmm.
or maybe even go back to like the 1950s, 1960s version of how they thought the future would be, because that obviously never came. So it's kind of timeless in a way.
Yeah, I could totally see that too. Like honestly, I love like that kind of like retro kind of like futuristic kind of a look too. And it's
Yeah.
kind of like a unified theme that's already there and set in stone, and people aren't exactly expecting like a retro future. So it could kind of like just work out there. But with like the whole COVID-19 situation, I could honestly see them like just going for like a reskinning some of the rides kind of a route.
Yeah.
And yeah, kind of going that way.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be disappointing. That would
Yeah.
be disappointing. I would love to see, like you mentioned, Tron. I mean, we got
Oh
to get
yeah.
Tron in there, you know?
Dude, and they could like put it in the spot where like if they have to take out like that Innovations building that was already there and it's not
Yeah.
even really being used. And honestly, I'd be okay with them taking out Autopia. I know it's kind of like a sin to some people, but I'd honestly be okay with it because it's a lot of space right there too. Even the subs, I'm okay with that too.
I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. The subs, Autopia, and the Interventions building, there's a lot of real estate there, and it's kind of wasted in a lot of ways. They could definitely put something in there like Tron that I
Yeah,
think would be much more beneficial. And it's funny because like one of my concerns about getting rid of that whole little back end is the loss of like the kinetic energy, right? Because
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah,
but with Tron, it's like you don't lose it, right? Because you're gonna have that cool those
the
ride
glowing
vehicles.
lights and the
Yeah,
ride.
yeah,
Yeah, I
all
think that'd
through
be
the
pretty
area.
cool. Yeah, I think if you notice throughout Disneyland, there's all kinds of kinetic energy except for like that small, just like Tomorrowland itself. It's just like the
Yeah,
subs and that's it. Like you have Fantasyland, you have Dumbo and Fantasyland, the teacups, even It's a Small World with like the clock and everything. And
yeah.
then in Frontierland, you have the boats. And off in the distance, you could see Splash Mountain Critter Country with the flumes going down. And yeah, I mean everywhere else. Well, maybe not Adventureland all too much, but you have the trees swaying in the wind. But but in Tomorrowland, it's kind of lacking that. And as much as I would want to see like the People Mover come back, I mean those tracks they're decaying there. I mean it's
Yeah.
probably gonna go too. So
It's probably gonna go. Like
yeah.
even if they were to bring that People Mover back, I've heard like you said, the tracks are so rotted they'd have to replace the tracks anyway.
Exactly. Yeah, and I know there's like a handful of like new OSHA regulations that they would have to like go through, and they would have to completely like retrofit the track and like go through each ride, make sure like the tunnels are like at the right length and everything. So it'd be a pain for them to like go through all that and a lot of money too.
It would. Now, I have a little bit of OCD, so it bothers me that Star Wars is represented in Tomorrowland still because they have their own land. It kind of bugs me a little bit.
That bugs me too.
Yeah. What are your feelings on that? Like, what should they do with Star Tours?
Okay, if they didn't have Avengers Campus, I would have said for them to put the Iron Man experience there.
That's cool.
But now I think about it, I don't really necessarily know what they should put there. I would say put Adventures Through Inner Space or something, but I don't think they want to go that route, especially because now they're kind of more invested in like IP and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's kind of it's that space is not too big, but I feel like they could do something with it. I just don't want them to go with like a small meet and greet or something.
Oh
Honestly,
yeah.
yeah. No.
That would be terrible. And it's crazy because like when Disney bought Lucasfilm and then Disney bought Marvel, and then they decided to kind of give both of those huge franchises their own land, it was sort of a blow to
Yeah,
Tomorrowland because those
exactly.
would be two franchises they could definitely utilize in Tomorrowland. But now it's like you have Batu, you have Avengers Campus. So now what? For Tomorrowland, now what?
Yeah, because before, if they wanted to do something to Tomorrowland, they could have like if they wanted a singular theme, they could have done like Star Wars or Marvel, or they could even done like both of them under like one central theme of like heroes or something. I don't know,
Right.
but now it kind of lost that opportunity. I don't really know what they could do with it.
Yeah, it's tougher, and all the other franchises that could even be like a possibility, like Big Hero 6
Oh
or
yeah,
like Wall-E. Those are great movies. I loved Wall-E. It's like my
oh yeah.
favorite Pixar movie, but it's just realistically though not a huge franchise.
Yeah, if they were gonna go with the Wally route, I think what we would see is something like similar to like a smaller dark ride in that area, especially because it's kind of small. But I
Yeah,
think it'd definitely be interesting to see.
yeah.
Yeah.
That would be pretty cool. Do you remember? I don't know if you remember, but like that they had like that the Wally droid that used to kind of
Oh
wander
yeah,
around.
yeah. I remember that.
I
Yeah,
used
that
to
was
love
pretty
that.
cool.
They
Yeah,
got a
and yeah, they also had the what was it? The Star Wars little droid going around too, pretty recently. But we haven't seen
yeah.
that.
You haven't seen that in a long time.
Oh,
Hey, Imagineering, they got to bring those back. Those were pretty
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Those are pretty cool. So okay, so now we're gonna kind of segue into like the overarching effects of COVID in terms of like, future attractions and budgeting and everything. How do you think like going forward outside of Tomorrowland, the shutdown and the loss of all that revenue is going to affect like future projects? Like what can we expect going forward in your opinion?
Well, number one, there's probably not going to be a smuggler's run kind of a ride for a long time. Nothing that relies on like touching or buttons or anything like that. No like
Definitely
Buzz
not.
Lightyear Astro Blasters kind of a deal. But yeah, I definitely see no physical kind of a thing. And then also they're probably going to go toward like larger attraction vehicles just in case something like COVID happens again. Like hopefully that doesn't happen again, but
Yes.
something that they could like work with in the future to like space people out. I could definitely see them doing like larger attraction vehicles. But yeah, definitely no physical kind of touching. But what really is interesting is like how the play pavilion at Epcot's gonna work out, because I know it's like all about like interactivity.
Yeah.
And then like even in some of the concept art, like for like the Edna Mode kind of like design studio thing, you see them, they have screens that they have to touch. So like I have no idea how that's gonna work now.
That's going to be interesting. And I wonder if that's going to be one of the casualties of war, so to speak,
Yeah.
if that's even going to happen anymore, because it's really, this is really like a shift, for Imagineering, because up until COVID, like they were really pushing the interactivity
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
And now it's like, well, what do you do? Do you build an interactive ride where everyone, like you said, they're all their snot and our germs are all
Yeah.
over it? What do you do now? Because you got to think in the future, like, okay, if this happens again, and maybe the next one, hopefully not, but maybe the next one will even be worse than COVID, and you got to be really, really careful.
Oh yeah.
And it's interesting. Yeah, I wonder. That whole Epcot thing, though, is really, it's
Yeah, I
fascinating to
worry
me.
about that.
You think
Yeah.
they're going to cut a lot, Matthew? You think they're going to do a lot of damage on the budget for that one?
As much as I want to say that they're not gonna like cut a lot of the budget, they probably are. I mean, you have to look at the losses. There's a lot of profits that they lost. I could see like smaller like additions, like the Mary Poppins thing. That breaks my heart. I could
Oh,
see
me
that
too.
leaving. Dude, when I saw that at D23, like I teared up when I saw that. Like Mary Poppins is like one of my favorite Disney movies, and like Mary
So
Poppins
good.
Returns is probably like my favorite like modern Disney movie too. So when I saw that, I was like, yes, this is everything I've ever wanted. Like, I don't care. Just like, I'm just glad it's there now. But yeah,
Yeah.
smaller attractions like that, I think they're going to cut it out. Or if they're not going to cut it out, they're going to go with like their smaller option and kind of like maybe like do like a meet and greet or like a kind of like a spinner kind of a ride.
Yeah.
They're going to play it safe.
Yeah, that's sad. And I agree with you about Mary Poppins. I love the original, and Mary Poppins Returns was so good.
I
So
know.
good.
Yeah, that movie's so underrated. It deserved more at the box office than what it got.
It did. It really did. I was like, I was worried going into that movie. And
Mhm.
I was like, okay, how do you live up to the original? It's
Exactly.
hard, And then they really managed to like capture the magic and the charm of the original.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like even right when I got into the theater and they had like the title screen with like the art in the background and everything, the
Oh.
credits at the beginning, I was like, okay, I feel safe now.
And you know what? Lin-Manuel killed it. He
Oh
absolutely
yeah.
killed it. He was so
You can't
good.
go wrong with him. I mean, he's going great. And I think he's working on like The Little Mermaid 2 or something like that. Like he's
Really?
doing yeah, I think he's doing like some of the music. He's working with everybody on it too. So
Wow.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
Wow. Yeah, he did a phenomenal job. I loved him. I think his character was Jack, right? His name
Yeah,
was
yeah.
Jack. He was great in that. I loved what I drew a blank. What's the gal who did the actress who played Mary Poppins?
Emily Blunt.
Emily Blunt. She did a great job
She was
as Mary Poppins.
phenomenal.
She was phenomenal.
Oh yeah, she was great. I mean, like she like I wouldn't say that she was like Julie Andrews, but like I feel like she embodied her while still like being herself in a way, like a new kind of interpretation while still being the old at the same time.
Yeah, exactly, exactly, and that's exactly I feel like what she should have done, because you never wanted to come off as like, oh, I'm Emily Blunt doing a Mary
Hmm.
Poppins impression, you know. So it
Yeah.
was great that she kind of gave her own little flair to it,
Yeah.
and it was great, and the music was awesome. I just absolutely fell in love with it. I hope that Mary Poppins Dark Ride happens. I
Oh
really do.
yeah. Yeah, but the thing is too that it makes me kind of sad and it breaks my heart that Imagineering's probably now going to always play it safe, and even with like the movie industry too, like Disney Animation and like well, maybe not Disney Animation. Well, maybe, but Disney Animation and like just Disney Studios in general, they're probably gonna go toward the safer route, just like guaranteeing that people are gonna go to that movie. Like they're probably gonna like push out more like remakes and stuff, or like
Yeah.
kind of like rides that are like based towards like IP that people enjoy. But like stuff like the rumored like Coco ride that's going to be at Epcot, like where the three Caballeros are.
Nice.
If they're gonna do that, I feel like that's gonna be one of the projects that survives because Coco is like a strong driving factor for people to like go to the movies and go to the parks because it's like really loved by everybody and it
Oh
worked out
yeah.
really well for the company. So I feel like if they're gonna go with like new rides, Coco would be one of them. Just like IP that's like really popular. Maybe like Inside Out too. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, no, possible. And in terms of California, like they got to get on that. Like for California Adventure, like a Coco Dark Ride, let's say on Pixar Pier, would be so perfect because not only is it Pixar, but Mexican culture plays such a huge part in California.
Exactly.
You gotta have that in there. It would be so great. I wish they would do that.
Yeah, I mean, I want them to do that too because I feel like it would fit perfectly. If we have to like sacrifice one of like the newer rides, like
Oh
the Little
yeah.
Mermaid or something, I'd be okay with that too. I mean, the Little Mermaid's nice, but like Coco would be totally awesome to see there, and I feel like it would fit in more.
Yeah.
But the issue with California Adventure too is that there's not too much space there, so it'd be interesting to see how they work with it.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, the only places outside of like you mentioned, going in to an existing attraction like Little Mermaid, the only room they really have would be like the Goofy Sky School and that Garden Grill area. But I just don't know, like acreage wise, if that's even enough. You know?
Yeah, that's the issue with California Adventure, and I honestly love that little area because it still has that like kind of like a Paradise Pier kind of a vibe, and plus I love the pasta at the Garden Grill area. I
So
think it's the best. That's like my favorite Disney
good.
food.
It's so good. I love that place. I love that place. And then have you had the like the Mediterranean like kebabs or whatever? Have you tried those yet?
No, wait. Actually, have I? I want to say I haven't, but I want to say I have at the same time. I've gone with my family, and I know my dad. My dad always goes there, so I probably like pick off like whatever he has left. But yeah, I've probably had like a little bite, but I haven't gone like there to order. But it looks
Yeah.
good though. I should probably try it the next time I go when they open.
Yeah, I know. Hopefully they reopen soon. Hopefully. We were like this close, Matthew. We
I
were this close,
know.
dude.
Oh, dude. I remember I was so excited. I was like calling a bunch of my friends, like, Disneyland's gonna open, Disneyland's gonna open. And I honestly I would have gone like at that time, because at the time like the cases were going down and like everything was
Yeah.
like getting better. But then towards like the middle and end of June, like everything just started like peaking again. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh man, I don't know if I want to go now.
Yeah, like honestly, like my first time back, I'll probably just kind of play it safe.
Mhm.
I'm kind of one of those weird. I kind of just like going to Disneyland. Like I'm just happy being there.
Oh yeah.
So like my first time back or first couple times back, I'm probably not even gonna ride anything. To be
Mhm.
honest, I'll probably just sit on a bench, absorb the atmosphere, just glad to be back. Play it really safe, not going to any queues for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. What I was telling my family earlier too is that like even just like going to the parking lot and going down the escalators, I'll be happy.
I know, right? It's just like those feelings. I know. I really hope. I mean, Florida opened. I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean,
Yeah.
hopefully within the next month, maybe.
I mean, I totally trust Disney with like their procedures. It's just I have a fear of like everybody who's going. I trust Disney. I
Yeah.
just don't really trust the people that are going.
I know. Like for the first time in since March, actually, I went back to my local mall
Mhm.
and I went there to I got to get fries. Actually, there's a place called Potato Corner, which I absolutely love.
Oh,
And,
cool.
yeah, I love that place. And they have like these like fries where you can get like different seasonings on them, and
Mhm.
I always get like the spicy chili barbecue. They're phenomenal.
Oh, that sounds great.
Oh, they're so good. They're so good. And I went there because they recently reopened again, and I didn't really think about it, but I went and then I had my mask on and everything, and I
Mhm.
was like, it was pretty crowded, and it actually kind of made me a little nervous, to be honest with you. Like I was like, okay, like
Yeah.
the little walkways and stuff. You do feel a little bit of like a little more anxiety with this now.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's when I was going to like something like small, like a PetSmart or something, I would be in line and there'd be those like people who are just like slowly like inching closer to me. I was like, oh no, okay, please keep your distance. And that's what I'm afraid of, like what's gonna happen at Disneyland or Disney
Yeah.
World. Like I feel like the majority of the people, they're gonna follow the rules. But there's always gonna be like those one or two people who are just like slowly inching closer to you or just like take their mask off and like sneeze or something.
Oh God.
So that's my fear when I go.
Definitely, definitely. Now, I do want to kind of segue into I watched your video in
Mhm.
regards to Splash Mountain,
Oh
you know,
yeah.
and it was great. And I loved how
Thanks.
you kind of dived into like the personal aspects of it, how you want to become an Imagineer
Yeah.
and how much the ride meant to you. And I love that. What are your feelings? Have your feelings changed? Because you support Princess and the Frog, the
Hmm.
re-theme, but it was at first a little bit of a,
Yeah, I was like, oh man, I have to shift into this. I remember when I woke up too. I was like, no, no. But yeah, I mean, from what I saw, like the concept art, it looks nice. But the thing is that it's kind of like a promotional image. It's just for publicity, and it's not like really telling anything of like what's going on. And
yeah.
it's kind of similar to like how they did it with like Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, where like their concept art would just be like images from like the shorts and stuff, and not
Yeah.
really anything related to it. But I don't know. Did you see the Jim Hill podcast where they were talking about how it would be like and stuff, like the
I,
actual
I
attraction?
didn't I didn't see the podcast, but I did see a lot like a description of it posted actually. It looks pretty cool. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to kind of
Yeah.
I don't know. Descriptions are always different than like the actual. It's weird.
Yeah, and I actually put a video on it with some little like drawings of how it might look too. But
I will link that up above actually.
oh,
So
okay,
you guys
cool.
check it out up above. I will link that video because it's pretty awesome. But
Well,
go ahead,
thanks.
Matthew.
But right now I think it's pretty bare bones, and I honestly I don't see them sticking with it for a while. I feel like it could be really fun. It's just they have to like kind of like have that kind of same density with like how they did with the animatronics in Splash Mountain, where there's like
Yeah.
all these different kind of like birds and critters and stuff. And something that I'm really afraid of for the Princess and the Frog is that it's not going to have that. I mean, it could be like a totally fantastic ride while still being like a downgrade from Splash Mountain, and that's what I'm kind of worried about.
Yeah. No, definitely. Look, they have big shoes to fill with this ride. And
Definitely.
they got to go in like with a great budget, and really knock it out of the park. I mean, they're messing with one of the most iconic attractions in Disney history. You got to go all out with this.
Oh yeah, I remember I was telling like some of my friends when I first saw the petition, I was like, I mean, some people want this, but like I cannot see Disney removing Splash Mountain. That ride has like at Disney World, it's always like 140 minutes or something, and like too many people like it, and there's gonna be like this huge uproar.
Yeah.
And so when I saw that they were actually gonna change it, I was totally shocked. Like that threw me off like completely. And I was like,
Yeah.
wow, they actually did it. And they've been working on it for a while too. And I was like, wow, like they actually did it. But I think it has some really great potential. I'm for it. I mean, society's changing, and you
Yeah.
know, and it's kind of like trying to be like more inclusive, and which is great. That's totally awesome. It's I think Marty Sklar at D23 said when he kind of got like this backlash for the redhead edition at
Yeah.
Pirates, he's saying that Disney parks need to grow and adapt, and he felt that even Walt Disney would do something like that too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. Walt Disney was, I'm glad you mentioned that. I mean, Walt Disney was totally about like the next thing, you know, like he was always about the next, the next, the next. Like, I'm certain if Walt Disney was still alive, we would have had like 5 different versions of the castle by now, you know?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he was just all about the next thing. And so I think that's a good thing. I think that it kind of plays to the spirit of Walt and his desire to constantly change.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like Princess and the Frog is almost like a flawless transition
Oh
between
yeah,
like New Orleans Square and Critter Country,
exactly.
because it kind of incorporates both.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like it's going to be the thing that I'm really excited about is I kind of feel like Princess and the Frog is going to kind of be almost like a hybrid between like Pirates and Splash Mountain. We're probably going to have a lot of like these firefly scenes and stuff. It's going to be kind of surreal, you know?
Oh, dude, that would be awesome. Yeah, I love like the little like sparkly kind of a lights kind of a deal. Like
Yeah.
in Frozen Ever After, I don't know if you've seen it or if you've been on it, but like the beginning scene, that is absolutely beautiful. It's like Olaf and all the little sparkling lights at the beginning. I could totally see them doing something like that.
Yeah, I haven't actually been on that yet, but I have seen videos, and it gives me goosebumps. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
I love what they did with it. I love what they
Yeah.
did with it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I personally I like the Frozen Ever After attraction. I know that some people don't. And I mean, I still miss Maelstrom, but I feel like Frozen After is like a pretty good ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks pretty cool, and I like what they did with what they had. You know, like I mean
Yeah.
that with that scene where you go up with the boat, and then you see the Elsa animatronic,
Yeah.
and she starts singing, and then you go backwards. You know, it fits. It doesn't feel like a shoehorn. It feels
Yeah.
like, okay, that's something that they would have done just for this IP. It feels like it works with what, you know,
Mhm.
with the movie they're the story they're telling. You know.
Yeah, and I feel like that it kind of at the same time it fits and it doesn't fit with Epcot at the same time. It doesn't fit with the old Epcot, but it fits with like the newer Epcot. If you
Right.
kind of get what I'm saying, yeah. Because
Yeah.
I know that Epcot's kind of shifting toward like these IPs and stuff, which honestly, like even since I was like younger, I kind of felt like that Epcot should have like more like Disney characters in it. And I know that some people like disagree with that, but they have to like take in consideration that um us Disney fans, we're probably like the minority in what
Oh yeah.
everybody wants.
Oh yeah.
Even though we sound like the majority, we're the minority. And you have to
Yeah.
take it from like other people's perspectives. And even before I became a part of like this whole like giant Disney community, something that I wanted at Epcot was like more Disney characters, and they're doing just that. So
Yeah, you know, I think it's kind of easy, like when we're on Twitter and things like that, to kind of get sucked into like this echo chamber of like, well, everyone wants like non-IPs, everybody wants, but like you said, like we are the minority, and
yeah,
you know, we might just be like 100 or 200 people or whatever it is, but the vast majority of the public, they want the Frozen, they want those franchises, they want the movie-based stuff, you know, and it's just
yeah,
it's yeah, we you know, as Disney nerds, we fall in love with the originals, you know, we
oh
fall in
yeah,
love with those original stories and stuff, but you know, Disney is a bit, I know it sounds cliche, but they are business, and they gotta actually sell to the general public, and
yeah,
not everyone is so enamored with Mark Davis's
yeah,
art, you know, like we are,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
It's for us, and we're like, oh my god, we love it. But like the general public doesn't care, unfortunately, you know.
Yeah, and like the Western River Expedition, as cool as it sounds, that's not probably what the public wants.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm not saying that no IP is bad. I mean, it could work out great. I mean,
Yeah.
you see like Mystic Manor, that ride is absolutely like phenomenal. Uh,
Incredible.
oh yeah. And I feel like there's some ideas that some of the public shares with like what the Disney community shares, but the majority of the opinions are not the same as like what the Disney community wants.
Yeah. No, I completely agree, Matthew. I completely agree. I think there's definitely a gap there. You know,
Yeah.
there's definitely a gap there. So now have you heard anything in regards to Splash Mountain? Like, I haven't heard anything in terms of like a timeline. Did they say anything about when that was supposed to be started or completed or anything like that? Have you heard anything?
Well, on the podcast, what they said was that they don't expect Splash Mountain to close until after the 50th anniversary for Walt Disney World, since that's such a big ride. And that they also don't expect it to like be open until 2024, even 2025, which is still a
Wow.
long ways out.
Yeah, that is a long ways out.
Yeah, and especially because like they've only been working on it for a year, and these kind of things they take like longer than a year. I mean, like the
Yeah.
idea of changing Splash Mountain has been there for like a couple years, maybe even like 5 years, but the idea of the Princess and the Frog has only been around for a year, and they still need to develop it.
Wow. You know, it's funny, Matthew. Like, you know, a lot of people right now, they're saying, like, well, this is so different. Like, Disney's never really done this kind of thing before. They're altering old attractions. But, you know, I've been kind of thinking about it, and I'm like, it kind of it's kind of been going on for a while.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like even like, okay, so we had like a couple years ago, we had like the wench scene, right?
Yeah.
That was changed in Pirates of the
Hmm.
Caribbean. But even like when you go back, you know, years and years to to the Michael Eisner era, like if you see pirates, you know, they added food, and like they would have like the pirates have like or the women would have like baguettes or
Yeah.
food under their arms, so it looked like they were chasing them for the food, not
Yeah.
for like, you know, like sexual whatever reason.
Yeah.
You know, they kind of make it a little more family friendly. And then
Mhm.
even like when like, and I'm old, okay, I'm old, and when I was a kid, they started to phase out like the Davy Crockett, like the rifles and things at the
Oh yeah.
parks and things like that. So it seems like this has been kind of going on for a while. It isn't really. I mean, this is the newest, you know, thing that they're changing, but it seems like this has been kind of an ongoing thing with Disney, and kind of keeping these attractions and keeping elements in the park more relevant, you know, with the times. You know.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like Disney, as much as they like to move forward, at the same time, they like to play it safe too. So as they're doing all this stuff, they want to protect their image because it's the Disney brand. Everybody knows Disney. Like you go
Yeah.
like, I don't know, like the farthest reaches of the world or something, they're gonna know what Disney is. So they have to
Yep.
protect their image.
Yeah, totally. And to be honest with you, I'm really surprised that buy a bride scene at Pirates lasted as long as it
Oh
did.
yeah. Yeah. I'm
I'm
pretty
really
surprised by that
shocked.
too. Yeah. And like, yeah, people, they just sometimes they don't like change for any reason. Like I remember
No.
for It's a Small World when they added the Disney characters in it, there was like protests and like
Oh man.
newspaper articles about like, oh, they're desecrating the ride, like Walt's rolling in his grave right now. I thought it was pretty cool. I mean,
I,
it's
it was
nice.
cool. It
Yeah.
was cool, and it wasn't like in your face. Like you can ride
Yeah.
Small World and not even notice the characters.
Exactly.
It's so subtle. It wasn't anything to get worked up over. Actually, you watched the Imagineering story on
Yeah.
Disney Plus. I
Twice.
think Kim Irvine, she mentioned that. Do you remember that? She
Yeah,
mentioned how
yeah,
she was getting a lot of heat from the Disney fans about like the changing of the ride and all that stuff.
yeah, and I honestly wouldn't doubt that Disney's gonna move toward that route, especially just for now, that they're gonna like start slowly like incorporating some IPs into like already existing attractions, because that's something that could bring in a lot of people while still maintaining a low budget.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and that
Yep.
works well with them too, because like the whole COVID situation, that's how they'll bring people back.
Exactly. Well said. Exactly. So Matthew, thank you, brother, for coming on. I do
Yeah,
appreciate it,
totally.
man. And everyone, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna link his channel, his videos. Give him a subscribe. Watch his videos. He does amazing content. Matthew, go ahead and let everyone know where they can find you just one more time before we head out.
All right, cool. So you can find me on YouTube. It's Matthew with an exclamation mark. It's a little bit hard to find it like just typing Matthew. So if you type something like the Disneyland ride tiering or Splash Mountain Princess and the Frog, it'll be easier to find me through that. Or you could check out any other videos that I posted too. And you can also find me on Twitter at matt.disney. Once again, that's MattDotDisney. And I also have a link to my YouTube on there as well.
Perfect, Matthew. And then I will link everything so it'll be real easy. They can click on it and check you out. And I want to ask you real quick before we go, on the wall. I love your wall, by the way.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Is that like a shadow box with pins you have on both
Yeah,
sides?
I have a bunch of them too.
That's awesome.
I have
Dude.
some along there. I actually have some in front of me too, but I can't really show that because it's in front of me.
That's awesome, dude. I do the same thing with my pins.
Dude, I love your wall. I'm obsessed with it.
Thank you. I don't have the heart to trade them. Everyone trades.
I don't
pins.
either. It's okay. I probably only traded one in my whole life.
Yeah, like when I buy one, I'm like, I want it, So
yeah.
But it looks great, man. Well, thank you, Matthew. I appreciate you coming on, brother.
Cool. Thanks, man.
And thanks y'all for watching. Comment below, like, subscribe, and as always, have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Bye.